What is up, Generals? We are back with Ultimate General Civil War, the J&P Diet Legendary Union Let's Play, and let's get going. As I know it's been a while since I've recorded a video, a new job and life and everything has gotten in the way, but the save files are still good. The mod is, I actually don't know if it's taken up to a new level or a new version of the mod, but let's stick with what I've been going on. And actually, let's check if the mod has a new level. It probably does. Yes, it's June. No, June probably not. Actually, it's about when I last updated it. If that's the case, then I think we're probably good to go. And we're playing the Union skirmish, I guess you could say, at 7 Pines. So in this battle, you're assisting Union forces already engaged. I'll take a look at the briefing for the battle, and then we'll zoom back out and take a look at the army. So as you can see, we're not bringing a lot. We're bringing 8 brigades or units, whatever, to the fight, and we're supporting a Union attack or a Union defense that's already going on. Army's preparing to on the outskirts of Richmond for the final assault against the rebel capital. We received an attack to our forces south of the Chickahominy River at 7 Pines. Rebel initiative seems successful, and our line is almost broken at the center. We need to act immediately, reinforce and stabilize our front line. So we have some troops that are already in position, and some batteries, infantry with, I think they have Lorenz's, which is solid. And then brigades are solid. Like they're good sizes. They've got a star of some kind. The artillery doesn't, so that's unfortunate. And there are also unstarred units. So we're falling in on a like a pretty average, you could say, Union brigade. And we're going up against 17,000 some odd AI troops. So for this fight, we only get 8 units to bring. And let's figure out what we want to bring. So we're going to need to lose, this is what? This is 12, 11. We're going to need to cut 3. Let's get rid of the cavalry over to the Holdring Corps. And that's not bad. And then I think we want to probably bring in one of our newer units to bleed them a little bit. No, let's hold off on the skirmishers. They're good. They're good to have in this fight, but I think we need to be careful about our numbers. So the Napoleon unit, I'm very inclined to actually not bring them to this fight. I'm not super sure we're going to stick with the Jameses either. They are close to picking up a 2nd star, and that would be very nice to have going into Gaines Mill. We're going to hold on to the first Ohio Rifles. We're going to bump them up to 1700. And the rationale there is I need a unit that will function as a rock, something that I can rely on going into the fight. By comparison, we're bringing the 13th New Mexico because they don't have a star. We're going to leave them at 1700. That's fine. That means we're going to bump one of these units. Let's see who's close to picking up a 2nd star. 3rd Illinois be close. Let's leave them there. 8th New Hampshire is not. The Maine boys also not. Rhode Island. So who's the furthest? The Maine. All right. So we'll take Maine out. There's no free divisions in that corps. That's fine. Let me see. What other artillery could I bring instead of the James battery? James is fine. James is a good battery. It's a good gun. Napoleons, 20-pounders, ordnances. 2 stars on the Ord battery, though. No stars on that Ord. We have already plenty of unordnanced or unstarred units. We have a 24-pound ouncer. It'd be good for Gaines Mill. But I think I do actually want the Generalist James gun, pick up their 2nd star. That'd be very useful. There are no more Jameses for us to buy, it looks like. But let's make sure the unit's at full strength. And let's go ahead and strengthen up our units here. So we're bringing a lot of foot troops and then some gunnery to support. This does actually make me think I might like to bring some skirmishers for scouting. Or for spotting purposes. It's a good point. So I'm hesitant to buy too many veterans. Let's say up to 1,500 for vets. And then let's see if I can get away with 1550 is fine, mostly because I just want to stop clicking. Let's see if I can get away with. Do we think we can cover that in a battle? Can we get 14 experience on this unit? I'm bad at math. Can we get 24 experience on this unit? We're going to find out. Everybody else gets bumped up to the standard 1,700 man size. I'm aware that we're buying Springfields here when we have plenty of Lorenzes that we could be using for our troops. We have also the MJ&G Type 2, which is a damn good gun, actually. And we have some revolvers. You know, at a certain point, you only need so many infantry units. The long rifles, the MJ&G. It's a random choice. Spotting wouldn't hurt, actually. What sorts of long-range weapons do we have for our skirmishers? 440, okay. Also 475 on the sharps. That's a good weapon. Do we have any more to buy? No, we're bought out. That's fine. We have damn near 600 of the revolving rifle. It's a 400 range rifle. It's not great at longest range for accuracy. I think this might be okay. Just brute force and dudes. However, we're going to get rid of the 55. Yeah, sure. You can have some MJs. Those are good weapons. Same deal. We can't buy those. We have enough of those. I should be upgrading away from, you know, basic weapons, so to speak. Harper's Ferry are fine. Like those just fine. They're a good weapon. Put them to 1,700. Okay. And then the James is as big as it's going to get. You know what? We can probably upgrade you to at least the 55. Oh, or maybe even a Lorenz, but you're a brand new unit. I don't know if you deserve a Lorenz, but you can definitely get a 55. That's totally fine. And we'll bump the rookies to 850 because they're going to take some losses just getting experience, basically. How are we doing on... if I could pick up more Lorenzes, I'm not super sure I need them, but I will be expanding the army a good deal for the James, or for Gaines Mill. I probably will pick up the Parrots, unless there's Parrots in the store for me. There are not. I do have enough to make a siege battery, though, which is very useful. Alrighty. So the basic plan here is actually to make sure that I'm bringing all 3 divisions. So I want my division commanders to get, experience. And I'm surprised I can't bring more than 3 divisions. I should bump AO going into the next battle. I've accomplished my goal of Reconnaissance 4. If we want to bring AO 6, we can bring an extra... 4 divisions per corps. That will open up a lot of slots in my armies, which is very, very good. We'll be filling them for Gaines Mill. Gaines Mill and Malvern Hill are both big battles. And so while this is loading up, we'll jump into it. Basic battle plan here, essentially, though, is to sort of stop the bleeding, so to speak, on the battlefield. And then the majority of the fighting is going to happen kind of around here. There's some fighting up here and some fighting in this cornfield or in these fields down to the south. However, the land slopes downward in this direction. So like up here is higher and then down here is lower. And eventually, typically what happens is I end up kind of pinning the enemy army in the back corner of the map about here-ish. Now, of course, having said that, it won't happen that way. But let's just jump right in. The situation's critical. Our sun is under heavy pressure. It will soon collapse. That's true. You have 2 fairly small and inexperienced brigades there. Rebels will attack our divided forces and destroy them in detail, which would be awful. And in fairness is probably what they'll do. Advance a division, reinforce, yada, yada, yada. So I want the James battery probably about here. This is a nice spot for them from an elevation standpoint. The Dream is probably right about here. But I can't move them here until I've secured these woods because it's just a good way to lose the battery. So in the meantime, they'll hang out right here, which is also good from an elevation and a line of sight perspective. And then we'll try and collapse Randolph and McCarthy, the other two batteries, on this same spot. Now, these are 10-pound ordnance, I believe. I can't look until after the battle. That makes sense. So, in that case, what am I going to try and do with my dudes? So, we have 1st Ohio, and I'm going to deploy them here in the north. And the reason being, when the battle starts, there are 2 brigades of, well, depending on splitting, right? I mean, this is the J&P Rebalance Mod. There's every chance that a unit splits. But when the battle starts, there'll be at least 2, and theoretically more, brigades that will basically begin almost immediately charging Howe and Abercrombie. And so what I'm going to try and do is get off 1 or 2 lazy volleys and then back up. So I'm going to be deploying the 1st Ohio and also the 8th New Hampshire. What are they armed with? Yeah, that's great. They're going to be trying to sort of stabilize up here and begin applying pressure to push the battle down here. Ultimately, my dream would be to occupy this position and then a position along this copse of trees. And then you'll notice, watch the terrain. This version of the game doesn't have terrain lines. The old Gettysburg, Ultimate General Gettysburg had terrain lines, so you could kind of see. But there's this general sense that the elevation kind of wraps around like this, and then as you go deeper down this creek or riverbed, it gets lower and lower, and the river's cutting into the terrain. And so I want to kind of line up along where the height of the terrain is, and then pin them down into this area, and then they're going to be against the edge of the map. There's a risk, however, that they will spill out down here, and then we're fighting in the woods, and I want to avoid that. So I have 2 decent-sized units to sort of stabilize the north. We're going to be sending the bulk of our troops, however. I'm going to have 2 brigades to the south, and then we're trying to stabilize 3 to the south, 2 in the center, 2 in the north. We're really trying to stabilize the south, which is where the fighting can, theoretically speaking, get the most intense. So what I would like to do is I would like to use these 3 brigades plus Carr and Robinson to sort of absorb the worst of it. And I'd like to stabilize along this wood line and theoretically in here and push up to this position. I really, really want to prevent the Confederates from getting into this area down here. They are, frankly, if they can get into this area of the map, it's a real bear to dig them out of there. So the high-level plan has been sketched. Let's see how it plays out when we get to the map. So we have some early splitting over here. Hatton has split, whereas Hampton has not. We can see early indicators of a Confederate brigade of some kind here. There's probably more. And I know from playing this battle in the past that there are skirmishers afoot as well. So that's always a good time. So what we're going to do, we're going to send 3rd Illinois and just immediately send them into the wood line. I want them to kind of make sure that very few things get into that position back there. Then Carr is going to push into the edge of the cornfield here. It's not exactly a lot of cover, but it's fine. It's a good amount of cover. And then as a result, I'm going to have Robinson fall back a wee bit as well, just so that he's not overextended. At that point, 4th Federal and 2nd Wisconsin are moving to support and cover down. Meanwhile, 11th Rhode Island is going to be advancing to support Birney and Barry, as is 13th New Mexico and the 3rd Artillery, as well as Legendary Fiasco himself. He'll be bouncing around as needed to sort of support everything. Perrin will go there, and then these 2 will go that way. You might get a shot off before everything goes, hog-eyed. So I'm expecting to have to fall back with Howe and Abercrombie. There's almost no universe in which I expect to be able to stand with these 2. So we're going to try and exhaust them, just covering the ground. And then in my kind of past experience with this fight, The artillery needs to go back to the house, and the infantry posts up in the cornfields, like here or so, until the supporting infantry can move to around this ish position to provide flanking support fires. And then pretty rapidly, these 3 brigades will kind of, the attack there will fall apart because there's no other support in this area, and all the other support for their army is right around this area. So let's play it out. Yeah, almost immediately we're getting a charge. Looks like both versions of Hatton are attempting to charge. So you're going to get your shot off basically, and then I'm going to run backwards with them. And then I'm pretty sure we're already getting charged over here. Okay, so Hampton here is a very big brigade, whereas the 2 Hattons have kind of shrunk, so to speak. Meanwhile, yeah, we're being swarmed in the middle. This is not going to be a good time. And I'm going to push skirmishers up from Bernie just to see what's going on the wood line and if I can occupy that space. If I can, things get a little easier in terms of just having a good fire base and a nice kind of raised centralized position to act as the pivot point or the fulcrum for the entire army, where basically what happens is we have a line that we draw around here, and then at this anchor point up here kind of closes like a doorway, sort of forming a right hook, like a doorway closing along this line. And then once I've occupied this position and I'm fighting along this position, they're trapped. But let's see how it plays out. The opening of this battle is always really intense. It's always a really fun kind of slog. It's bloody too, holding them back. So let's see how it shakes out. All right, they've gotten their volley off. Time to run. They haven't shot yet. They are shooting. Getting decent offensive punch. Oh my goodness, there's a 4th brigade. Okay, get out of there. Get out of Dodge. Just literally turn tail and run. That's really not good. I will admit that there is nothing at all heroic about running away like this, but they're completely and totally outmatched, just in terms of raw numbers present. Yep, okay. So there are some skirmishers here. That's not super. And what we're going to do, hopefully, Pettigrew appears to have no stars. So I'm going to advance with Barry and engage him at point blank range. Barry has Springfield. Perfect. Actually, that's good for that. And we're also going to have the 13th New Mexico right behind him. And so that should hopefully let us use the wood line and, more importantly, this raised position. What's happening with my mouse? That's not ideal. This raised position relative to the rest of the map, raised, as a good place to sort of flank the attack here, because Hood is probably going to make contact before I can get 2nd Wisconsin or 4th Federals in place to support. Oh, Hood's almost definitely going to make contact at this point. Yeah, so they're running still. We really need to be doing a lot more than that, like 3 kills or whatever. All right. It's also apparent to me that I think we're gonna not be able to outrun Pender here. I think. Maybe. Actually, I'm not sure about that. Oh, there's 2 brigades there. That's a little different. All right. They're almost going to be able to provide close range support, which is... Oh, is it going to be necessary? It's going to be absolutely necessary. So this is what I was a little worried about, is just getting overwhelmed by like target priority, which is essentially to say that there are too many things for the forces that I have to cleanly engage. But the Robinson's boys here are sort of buying us the time we need to hopefully get into position. All right, we may actually get ourselves a little bit of a breather in the north. I'm less sure about that in the center, actually, and very, very unsure of it in the south, especially because there appears to be some reinforcing troops coming. Okay. Oh, McCarthy's battery is going to get Abercrombie killed, I think. Come on, man. Yeah, that's going very poorly. Okay. So yeah, some flexibilities I think going to be required as I sort of try to stabilize things in the south. I'm also very interested to see kind of how this develops, because this is not usually how the northern portion of this fight tends to evolve, and I think we need you to start adding your weight. The Jameses, I think, have a chance to really shake up how this fight goes. All right. If you can believe it, I feel as if things have begun to stabilize. Not, a lot. But enough. And the reason I say that is unless there's something over here. I'm sure that there are things back here that I can't see yet, but at this point I've got troops basically all along in north-south. There's a perfectly delineated line at this point. They have deep penetration into my position. I don't have a clean battle line anywhere. I don't have, any of the things that I would need to say that I'm secure. But at this point, we've countered or slowed we've checked their advance, essentially. And so now hopefully I can turn that around. Remains to be seen whether I can do that, obviously, but we are at a point where, nominally speaking, I should be able to slowly kind of regain the positioning advantage. We're going to have to see whether that shakes out that way, though. I don't really know how confident I am in that just yet. And this Palmetto sharpshooter unit is going to be a real concern. I'm doubly concerned that I've got units wavering at the edges of my line. My flanks are collapsing, I feel, or I worry. And I'm also worried that I'm spending lives from 1st Ohio that maybe I can't afford to spend. I'm actually really worried about the skirmisher unit charging. That is not at all what I would normally expect them to do. I'm worried if they know something I don't about the efficacy of those units in hand-to-hand. This is going to be a challenge. However, you see, the overall plan I'm shooting for is shaking out. They've been kind of held at this tree, this fulcrum. This is the sort of the crux of the battle. I'm going to have Barry here in this tree line shooting directly at Hardaway, the battery there, but I'm not going to be able to get at Jones, I don't think, till later. Hood and Anderson are both a concern. And then I'm very worried about how to get Abercrombie out of that situation without collapsing my north, which is why I've got Bernie heading over there to try and assist. That said, on the north, we're able to engage on barely favorable terms, which is good. We've, I think, probably stabilized things here in the mid. And the south is actually looking okay as well. Although it's definitely a work in progress. So what I'm doing here is I've got Howe and First Ohio both focusing on Hampton. The reason I'm doing this, even though he's an unskilled unit, he's the biggest. And so unskilled or not, he's putting out a lot of fire and causing some hurt. But other important thing is that if Hampton wavers and begins to run away, I can move Howe to like this position and start to destabilize the two versions of Hatton that are over here. Pardon me. The dream, ultimately, is to shove these units back, ideally here, but maybe even, whatever, wherever they need to go. I also need to get Bernie maybe like here. And when I have two brigades, I can kind of keep Pender from getting out of control. I'm a little worried about Abercrombie. He's one of my units, or one of the AI units, so I'm not as worried about him, obviously. But he's here taking... it's not an ideal loss ratio, but he's pinned Pender where I need him. I might actually fall back a little bit and re-engage at a later date. He may not be able to shoot. He's blocked. Okay. And that's the case. He has to shoot somebody else. So since Hal's going to be engaged in a prolonged firefight, I'm moving him into the cover of the house. We're not going to be able to just quickly turn this, so we're grinding it out. And if that's the case, I want to be trading as efficiently as I can without giving up ground. Because I think that there's not any profit to be gained by like collapsing them backwards or something. So they're going to hold where they're at. They're going to trade as favorably as they can. And they're going to continue to maul those units up there. And as we can see, the artillery unit's just starting to cause havoc in the front lines. You know, I'm not actually sure that they can take that battery, to be honest with you. This has turned into quite the slog, though. I feel like 2nd Wisconsin could actually be exactly enough troops to really bring that front back into control. As it stands, we have basically enough numbers to ensure kind of parity everywhere, but not enough to close anything off. And yeah, that's going to be the death knell of that particular little push, I think. Alrighty. Starting to get a second to think to myself. And yeah, I'm not gonna go into all the details as to why I haven't recorded a video in a while. It's just, you know, life has happened. Nothing good or bad about it. It's just sort of the way that it is. Job, life, physical fitness, you know, these things have all sort of taken their slice of my time pie, and I've just had less and less and less of it to devote to, you know, honestly, all of my hobbies. It's not just recording for YouTube. It's been everything. You know, my hope is to get back on the horse I want to finish this campaign. So I'm not going to try and say, oh, I want to release every X number of days or whatever. I think we both know that that's not a reasonable use of my time, you know, or a thing that I'm sure I can even stick to. What I am going to say, however, is I want to finish the campaign. You know, I want to get back on the metaphorical horse. I want to keep moving this thing along, and so I'm going to do that at whatever pace I get. And, you know, based on my comments and my analytics, a bunch of you guys discover these videos months or even years after I release them. So if that be the case, you know, then so much the better as far as I'm concerned, that I continue this, because maybe you discover this whole series months after I release it. And so even though there's a few months gap in real time between when I recorded the last video and now, For you, the viewer, it might be, you know, a few days or whatever. So with that being the case, we're still kind of just pushing this thing along, trying to slowly but surely get Pender out of here and then give these guys a chance to rest up. Not that that'll matter too much, I think. There's nowhere for you to route, buddy. Okay, come on. He's not long for the world, I don't think. Even rookies in a defensive position like that can take off, can send him back. I'm actually a little amazed that they haven't routed or anything yet, or shattered or anything yet. That's wild to me. Feel free. Just throw in the towel. It'd be really great if you did. So this is going swimmingly over here. This is exactly how I planned that would break down. That was really what I was shooting for. I think they finally pulled threw in the towel. That's understandable. I will also note that this is sort of the curse of the recorder. Every single time I say in one of these battles, this is what I'd like to see it happen, or this is what I'd like to see happen, and this is how it usually goes when I've played this battle off camera. It then proceeds to play out not at all like that, basically. Every time. Third Illinois is doing great. Nice. Yeah, so even even though I'm worried about Palmetto, like, if there are enough units firing at him, he just gets whittled down with like chip damage. Which is great because these units, he's so small he can't take a lot of chip damage. You know, and it's 1 or 2 guys here and there per volley, but that adds up. All right, these guys are starting to recover from their tiredness, their exhaustion, their understandable exhaustion. I'm going to try and wrap the army up, looks like. So we're evolving the battle plan in a different direction, which is to say we're pushing them kind of into this corner, which I've not typically done when I've played this battle, but I'm casting out a wide net of skirmishers on my flank here to try and make sure that nothing squeezes by. And we're just keeping an eye on the troops that we know exist. We're also trying to engage at max range. We don't know what kind of guns Hampton has, but we do know that Howe has Lorenz's, which are really good at long range. So we're trying to keep them there, and we're trying to keep the Ohio rifles in the cornfields. We don't want to take them any more losses than they have to, and they've already taken kind of too many in my mind. Sort of the nature of how the battle evolved, unfortunately. But you know, the Jameses are just reaping an absolute toll on these batteries of artillery. And I have a suspicion that their center is collapsing and that this is sort of the meatiest part of their line at this point. Pretty sure I have skirmisher detachments that are about the size of Bernie's brigade over here. I feel like brigade is no longer really an accurate term for Bernie. It's like Bernie's company. Bernie's oversized platoon. All right, so now it's about cleaning up and minimizing my losses in the process. Nice. That actually worked out better than I could expect. And there we go. And that's it. What a bloody mess. But this is a really fun fight. And, you know, I think one of the unfortunate consequences of playing big union is, or even medium union, is you're going to take a lot of losses just in fighting it out. There we go. A bunch of losses. You know, looks like maybe 25%, thereabouts. We'll fix some of that down with medicine. Not enough, obviously. And then we killed the entire map. Yeah, some of the heavier losses fell on some of the more experienced units. Unfortunately, that was a situation where they were needed to hold that front. I don't love it, but it is what it is. The only wounding is an AI unit, so I think actually we end up gaining that, and because he hangs out in our medical pool now, which is great. Picked up a bunch of Lorenzes off of our allied units, which is fantastic. I guess at the end of the battle, they must have mustered out of the war. You know, like, yeah, our enlistment's over. Turn of enlistment's done now, and off back to the homeland, which is fantastic, I suppose. All right, cool. That's the skirmish at Seven Pines. And the next battle we'll do is a camp battle before Gaines Mill. My last pip here is going to go into AO. Supposed to be in a pretty good place. Eco 6, AO 6, Recon 4, and then we'll start pumping up points into medicine at this point. I think AO 6 is a good place because then I have 4 divisions at 6 divisions per. It's 24 units per division, which is good. Plenty of men, plenty of money. Still have plenty of pips in here for free stuff, so free guns and free cannons, which is never a bad thing. Union needs to play into heavy artillery, especially going into the next battle. They picked a bunch of dudes and a bunch of guns, and then we're heading into Gaines Mill. So Gaines Mill is going to be a 2-corps battle. Yep, and I need to be able to bring up 24 brigades per one of the corps. I may actually not have to add that many units because we only get to bring 36 total to the fight, and I think I have... That's, 16 right there. No, that's not 16. That's 12. Oh, man, 13. So I'm going to have to bring a couple of new units, but not that many, which is fine. The important thing is that the Union Army can scale and grow, and I have enough money for it to work out that way. So we'll be bringing Grant and Fiasco into the battle with poor old Dale Barnes kind of holding up, the rear, the non-fighting command. All right, guys, I will see you the next one. This is Fiasco. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys watch that all out, and we should have a good time in Gaines Mill. So see you the next one. This is Fiasco. See you on the field. Bye.